Greetings, it is I, Tentus Naravan Dracovin, Lord and Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome. It's time to continue our discussion on Shadowrun. When we last left off, we of course were talking about the wireless world. Let's dive into it more with some talk on commlinks and networking. So for commlinks, well, commlinks are going to be the device which is going to connect you to the wireless world. Almost everyone has one. It functions as a combination of wireless router, cell phone, GPS, video cam, PDA, chip reader, wallet, and mobile gaming device that fits in your pocket. They come in all shapes, sizes, formats, colors, any kind of thing you could imagine. You're probably going to find a commlink version of it, and it's pretty portable and pocket-sized. It's also going to be the hub of your PAN, your personal area network, and it's going to allow for your connection to the complete wireless world. It's going to be wirelessly connecting to the matrix all around you, to the other connections within the world. Now, it's also going to hold a great deal of your personal data within it. Any ID you have, if you have a SIN, license, passports, diplomas, medical history, insurance, credit report, and much more. The cred sticks of the past, they've been replaced by your commlink. It's now where your balance is, effectively. Now, most of this data can actually be broadcast to the world around you. Why would it be? Why would you broadcast all this data about yourself? Well, for one thing, stores. A store could know what you want by this data you're broadcasting before you even enter into it. Especially if you're planning to go there, the information you're providing them will allow them to provide you tailored details of what kind of things you might want, what kind of food you might want, what kind of clothes you might want, depending on the type of store it is. Another reason might be social networking and gaming. If you're permitting into a lot of social networking with other people, or you're doing it in gaming with other people, this information is very important about it. Now, there is another reason to broadcast it. Certain areas might need you to. It might be for security purposes. An area might need you to broadcast your ID and your SIN to basically tell people who you are on the network, if it's a public one, just a little bit. That might be the minimum amount of information you actually need to broadcast to the world. Especially in the world as it is now, a lot of places might need that to be broadcast. Even in public places, just to have yourself be out there if something should go wrong. Now your node has 3 modes. First off is active. When you're active, you're basically connecting out with all the nodes around you, and you're allowing them to connect back in with you. Basically, you're having active connections all around you, and you're just communicating both ways. You're part of the network. You're basically, I can access that node over there. It can access me back. Now then, you can have passive. That's the next mode. Passive allows you to access active nodes, but doesn't allow access back without permission. Effectively, you're setting it up that you can still be reached and connected to, but it's not going to be the same kind of connections. You're going to have to give permission to any of these nodes to really access you. This is really important for areas of high spam, per se. You might want to just not get any of that and access only the nodes you want to. If I'm traveling in a tourist area and oh, my favorite shop's over there, I might want to access that shop to get, centered on what I'm going to buy. But I don't want to get hit by all this advertisement. I might have myself on passive. It's really to filter the noise. Now, if someone does try to access you, you'll get alerted to it. You'll know that someone's trying to connect in with you, and if you don't want them to, they're not allowed to. Now, the last mode for your commlink is hidden. This is often referred to as ghosting, where you're not connecting to any node and no one's connecting to you. The node can only basically know you exist unless you access them. When you're passive, nodes still know you're there. When you're hidden, until you do something, no one knows you're there. When you access that node, yeah, they know you're there finally, but until then, you just don't exist. Hence why ghosting, you're like a ghost. Granted, this is, unless I access them, they don't do me, or I've given them permission to access me previously. I could have set up that I have a connection with this node anyway, so maybe I'm hidden, but if I've given permission previously, they might still be able to connect with me. So they might still know I'm here. It's just you have to have pre-established things for connections to be established. Well, for the connections to you to be established, or you're going to have to directly connect with them yourself while you're there. ghosting is actually looked upon being a kind of social stigma. It's not really looked at being very polite in most social situations nowadays, because everybody has a commlink. Granted, there are points in time where ghosting is appropriate. At those points in times, then go ahead and do it. But there are other points in time where you don't want to do it at all, because it's either punishable by whoever's in charge of that area because they don't trust you're not doing something shady while ghosting, because you're effectively cutting yourself off from the Matrix network in a way. So you're going to have to try to figure out when it's appropriate, when it's not to use your hidden mode. Now let's talk about your persona. Persona represents you on the Matrix. It's a combination of your OS and your programs, making some kind of representation of you accessing the Matrix. It's your alter ego. The attributes it's going to use in the Matrix are going to depend on your device and your OS, of course. Any attacks against the persona are going to damage your device. You're basically attacking the device if you're attacking the persona. Unless it's a black ice, which I will talk about later, then it's an attack through the Matrix directly targeting you. Physical you. We'll talk about that. Your persona's icon will graphically represent how you want to appear in the Matrix. It's going to also appear in the altered reality or the Matrix. It's your graphical representation, this persona icon. And it's going to have a standard look depending on the device you have. Oftentimes, whatever programs you might have might add features to your icon itself. And so you can come up with this kind of amalgamation that represents the programs it has and represents the device you're using. Granted, you could always customize it. There are people that customize it to appear as much as they want to, different from what it normally would be. And it could start out as that basic that it started out, or you can customize it as far as you want to and make it appear however you wish. It's a free action to alter or swap your icon. Now let's talk about linking and subscribing, because this is actually your device communicating with another device. A device you have won't link with anything just because it can. You have to allow whatever device you're using, whether it's your commlink or anything else, to link to something else, to subscribe to each other, to connect to each other. This is one of those things that actually helps prevent hackers and snoopers from getting into you, because you have to make this choice to make these connections. Effectively, you have to choose to link between the two nodes, and then basically grant them the permission to subscribe to each other and communicate with each other. It's this granting of permission that is very important for security in the first place. Now, you can technically link with any number of nodes. You really can. And you could have a list of nodes that you more commonly link with, ones that you know you can link with, ones that you have connections with. But you can have a limited amount of ones you can actually subscribe to at any point in time. So anything like agents, drones, persona, they can really only link to a number of things, to subscribe to a number of things equal to their system times 2 at maximum. This also means if I have a list of possible subscriptions, that they can connect to me if it's really necessary. It makes it very easy to connect between these two if there are a pre-established list of connections I've effectively created previously. So that's it for today. I talked about commlinks, your basic tool that you're going to have. Went over some details about it. Talked about the different modes of, say, your commlink. I moved on to talking things about like your persona, what represents you in the Matrix, part of your commlink there too. Talked about its various attributes and how it would work. I, of course, talked about linking and subscribing then. In the next episode, I'm going to talk about Matrix attributes and the pilot program and how these work with your character in the wireless world. So any questions, comments, anything you would say, anything you think I left out, please leave in the comments below. Please like, share, and of course subscribe. It shows support the channel, the Empire, and the work I do. If you want to show some extra support, you can always check out my Patreon, link in the description below. But regardless, until the next time, I bid you farewell.